Carl Jung left us a powerful message that resonates in the deepest part of the soul. Our inner peace is constantly threatened by the expectations we project onto the world. These expectations aren't something we can easily eliminate since they're deeply rooted in our unconscious, a place where our hopes, fears, and most hidden desires reside. Imagine for a moment all the times you felt disappointed because someone didn't meet what you expected of them. Maybe it was a friend who wasn't there when you needed them most, or a relationship that promised to be perfect but ended up being an emotional mess. Jung explains that these disappointments aren't the other person's fault but our own mind's doing. We create an idealized image of how people, situations, and even ourselves should be. And when reality doesn't match that image, inner conflict arises. The unconscious plays a crucial role in this dynamic. For Jung, it's not just a place where we store repressed memories. It's a living, active space that shapes how we experience the world. When we project onto others, what we're really doing is seeing our own unresolved needs reflected. For example, if you expect your partner to give you an absolute sense of security, it might be because deep within, there's an insecurity you haven't acknowledged or faced. That feeling of emptiness you try to fill through the other is actually a part of you crying out for attention. The problem is we live in a world where these projections are constantly fed. Society sells us the idea that everything must be perfect. Our relationships, our work, our entire life. But perfection doesn't exist. And the more we strive for it, the further we drift from our inner peace. Jung warns us that this effort to control the external only intensifies the chaos within. The real change begins when we stop seeking outside ourselves what we already carry within. It's an act of courage to pause and look inward, confront our shadows, and accept that we don't need the world to be perfect to be at peace. Life, with all its imperfections, has a deeper purpose: to help us grow, understand ourselves, and free ourselves from those invisible chains we've built with our expectations. This liberation isn't a quick or simple process. At first, it can feel uncomfortable to let go of expectations because we're used to relying on them to make sense of our experiences. But when you allow yourself to accept reality as it is, something incredible happens. You start to feel a lightness that was previously unreachable. It's like letting go of a burden you didn't even know you were carrying. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you felt trapped in a relationship or situation that seemed to steal all your energy? That feeling of exhaustion doesn't come from the relationship itself, but from your resistance to accepting that it's not working as you imagined. Jung said our inner peace doesn't depend on things being how we want them, but on our ability to embrace what they really are. When you stop fighting the current and simply flow with life, you begin to notice profound changes. Your energy renews, your mind clears, and you realize the things that once seemed indispensable were nothing more than illusions. It's an awakening, a way to reconnect with your essence and find a purpose that goes beyond the superficial. This awakening doesn't mean giving up your dreams or settling for less. In fact, it's the opposite. By letting go of expectations that don't resonate with you, you open space for things truly aligned with your essence to enter your life. It's like cleaning a cluttered room. Only when you remove what doesn't serve you can you clearly see what really matters. Jung spoke of the process of individuation, a journey toward authenticity that involves accepting all parts of ourselves, even those we'd rather ignore. Often our expectations are a way to avoid facing those uncomfortable parts. We project onto others what we don't want to recognize in ourselves. For example, if you expect someone to be honest with you but find they aren't, maybe it's an invitation to reflect on how honest you are with yourself. Life doesn't give us easy lessons, it gives us mirrors. Imagine how your life would change if you could see every challenge, every disappointment as an opportunity to learn something about yourself. Jung reminds us that everything that bothers us about others is a projection of something we haven't integrated. That person who seems to constantly irritate you is nothing more than a sign that something inside you needs attention. But instead of seeing this as a burden, why not see it as a gift? Every difficult interaction is an open door to a deeper understanding of who you are. The problem is most people spend their lives avoiding these doors. They prefer to stay in their comfort zones, surrounded by their expectations and resisting change. But Jung would say real growth happens the moment you decide to face your fears, your shadows, and your limitations. It's not an easy path, but it's the only one that will lead you to authentic peace. It's in this process of facing what we are that we discover something incredible, our capacity to let go. Letting go isn't giving up or accepting less than you deserve. It's releasing the invisible change you've created by clinging to what you can't control. When you realize expectations only limit you, you experience a freedom that once seemed impossible. The freedom to let go doesn't mean you stop having goals or aspirations. Rather, it means you no longer depend on things being exactly as you imagine to be happy. It means trusting that life, with its ups and downs, has a perfect rhythm that always takes you where you need to be. Jung said the unconscious is a powerful ally if we're willing to listen. That instinct, that intuition telling you when to let go, is your unconscious guiding you toward a place of greater authenticity. And when you start living from that place, something magical happens. The right people begin to appear in your life. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach present themselves naturally. And the inner peace you've been searching for finally becomes a reality. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. You've stopped expecting the external to align with you, and instead, you've aligned with yourself. You might wonder, how do I start this process? The answer isn't in big changes or quick fixes. It's in small moments of awareness. Every time you feel frustration, disappointment, or anxiety, ask yourself, what am I expecting? Is this expectation reasonable, or is it a projection of something deeper? These questions, though simple, have the power to transform your perspective and bring you back to a state of balance. This transformation process requires patience and honesty with yourself. It's not about eliminating all expectations at once, but about observing them, understanding their origin, and consciously deciding which ones deserve to stay and which ones are better to let go. Many of our expectations come from ideas we've inherited, whether from our family, society, or past experiences. But Jung taught us we're not doomed to live by scripts we didn't write. We have the power to rewrite our story and choose a more authentic path. When you decide to let go of an expectation, you don't just free up space in your life. You also send a clear message to your unconscious. I'm ready to accept what is instead of clinging to what should be. This act of acceptance isn't passive, it's deeply active. It's a commitment to your emotional and mental well-being, a reminder that your peace is worth more than any unattainable ideal. Many people fear letting go because they think they'll lose something important. But what you really lose when you let go are the chains tying you to suffering. It's an act of faith in yourself and in life, an affirmation that you deserve better than being trapped in a cycle of frustration and disillusionment. Jung invites us to see this process as an opportunity to grow, to connect with our essence, and to discover the true power we carry within. The unconscious is always working, sending you signals through your emotions, dreams, and intuitions. When you ignore these signals, when you cling to an expectation that clearly isn't working, you're closing the door to new possibilities. But when you listen, when you allow those signals to guide you, you discover a world full of potential. It's as if the entire universe conspires to support you, but only if you're willing to stop resisting. Think of all the times you felt a sense of relief after making a tough decision. Maybe it was leaving a toxic relationship, changing jobs, or simply saying no to something that didn't resonate with you. That relief isn't a coincidence. It's your unconscious recognizing that you're aligning with your truth. And the more you practice this act of letting go, the easier it becomes. You start to trust the process, the idea that everything you need is already within you, waiting to be discovered. When Carl Jung spoke of individuation, he was referring to this journey of self-discovery. It's not about reaching an ideal of perfection, but about accepting who you are in all your complexity. This includes your strengths, your weaknesses, and yes, your shadows. The shadow, according to Jung, is that part of you you'd rather not see, but it holds immense power. When you integrate your shadow instead of denying it, you become a more complete and authentic version of yourself. It's here where the act of letting go connects with the concept of the shadow. Many of our expectations are an attempt to avoid facing that part of ourselves that feels uncomfortable. For example, if you always expect others to validate you, maybe it's because you haven't learned to validate yourself. By letting go of that expectation, you not only free yourself from depending on others, you also start building a stronger relationship with yourself. This process doesn't mean you'll never feel disappointment or frustration again. It's natural to have expectations. What matters is not letting them dominate your life. When you learn to observe your expectations with curiosity instead of attachment, you realize many of them are just illusions. And by letting go of those illusions, you create space for truth, for more authentic relationships, and for a fuller life. Synchronicity, another key concept in Jung's teachings, starts to manifest in your life. When you do this inner work, the right people arrive at the right time. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach present themselves naturally, and everything seems to fall into place. This isn't magic. It's the result of being in tune with yourself. When you stop projecting your fears and expectations onto the world responds by reflecting your authenticity. When you're in tune with yourself, you experience what Jung described as a natural flow in life. This doesn't mean all your problems suddenly disappear, but you do start approaching them from a place of greater clarity and inner strength. You stop reacting impulsively to situations and instead begin responding from a space of deep understanding. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but every small step you take toward your authenticity has a profound impact. One of the biggest obstacles in this process is fear. Fear of the unknown, of losing what you think you need, or of facing parts of yourself you've avoided for a long time. But Jung reminds us there's no growth without facing our fears. It's in those moments of greatest discomfort where we discover our true strength. Every time you choose to let go of an expectation that doesn't resonate with you, you're challenging that fear and proving you're bigger than your limitations. This journey toward authenticity also has a direct impact on your relationships. Often, the expectations we have of others are a reflection of our own insecurities. We want our friends, partner, or family to behave a certain way because deep down, we fear facing our vulnerability. But when you start letting go of those expectations, something wonderful happens. Your relationships become more real, more free, and more fulfilling. By stopping the imposition of your own ideas about how others should be, you allow them to show themselves as they are. This not only strengthens bonds, but also creates a space for both of you to grow together. You're no longer trapped in a constant struggle to change the other. Instead, you focus on changing yourself. And when you do this, you inspire others to do the same. Another important aspect of letting go of expectations is how it affects your relationship with yourself. We're often our own worst critics, imposing impossible standards on ourselves. We judge ourselves for not being good enough, for not meeting our own expectations, or for making mistakes. But Jung teaches us that this inner judgment is just another form of disconnection. When you allow yourself to let go of these self-imposed expectations, you give yourself the chance to accept yourself as you are. This act of self-acceptance is profoundly transformative. You stop seeking validation and start trusting your own worth. You realize you don't need to meet any external standard to deserve love, respect, or happiness. It's all already within you, waiting to be recognized. And the more you accept yourself, the easier it becomes to accept others and the world as they are. When you live from this place of acceptance, you discover that life has a natural rhythm, a kind of flow that takes you exactly where you need to be. You no longer feel the need to control every detail or cling to things. Instead, you trust that everything truly meant for you will arrive at the right time. This isn't resignation, but an act of faith in the process of life and in your own ability to adapt and grow. Maybe it's an expectation you've carried for years, a relationship that no longer resonates with you, or simply the idea that you need to be something you're not. Whatever it is, remember that letting go isn't an act of weakness, but of strength. It's a reminder that you deserve to live in peace, free from the chains you've created yourself. Synchronicity, as we mentioned earlier, becomes a natural part of your experience. Opportunities that once seemed impossible start appearing unexpectedly. The people who enter your life seem to be there for a reason. And the challenges you face stop feeling like punishments and become valuable lessons. This is the result of living in alignment with your truth. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you could let go of all the expectations weighing you down. If you could accept people as they are, trust the natural rhythm of life, and most importantly, fully accept yourself. Jung shows us that this state isn't just possible, it's our natural state. All it takes is the courage to look inward, face our shadows, and let go of what no longer serves us. When you start living from this perspective, life takes on a new meaning. You no longer worry so much about controlling the future or constantly reliving the past. Instead, you find a sense of peace in the present, in what's happening right now. Jung said the unconscious is always in the present, sending us signals, symbols, and messages to help us live more authentically. When you choose to listen to those signals instead of ignoring them, you align with a deeper wisdom. This connection with yourself not only transforms how you experience the world, but also how you relate to it. You no longer need to force situations, fight the current, or try to prove your worth. All that fades away when you realize you're already enough just as you are. This is a reminder many of us need to hear in a world that constantly pushes us to seek more, to be more. Jung invites us to challenge that narrative and remember that true fullness doesn't come from the external, but from within. Living from your authenticity also lets you see the beauty in life's imperfections. You realize you don't need things to be perfect to find joy. That relationship that didn't work out, that job that didn't go as expected, or even the mistakes you've made, all have a purpose. Jung taught us that chaos isn't the enemy, but a teacher. It's in the moments of greatest confusion where we find the most important lessons. When you let go of expectations, you not only change how you experience the world, you also change how the world responds to you. This inner shift creates a ripple effect. The people around you start to notice it, and often they feel inspired by your peace and authenticity. Without realizing it, you become a beacon for those also seeking to free themselves from the expectations that imprison them. It's important to remember that this process doesn't have a defined end. Life will always present new opportunities to grow, new situations that test our ability to let go and accept. But with every step you take, you become stronger, more aware, and more connected to yourself. This is the true gift of letting go of expectations. You not only find peace, but also discover an inner power that was always there, waiting to be claimed. Think of all the times life surprised you in ways you never expected. Maybe it was a friendship that came out of nowhere, an unexpected opportunity, or even a moment of calm amid chaos. These experiences remind us we don't need to have everything planned or under control to find joy and meaning. Life has its own rhythm, and when you trust it, you discover it often exceeds your most optimistic expectations. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean giving up your dreams or aspirations. On the contrary, it means freeing your dreams from the chains of perfection and letting them evolve in ways you might not have imagined. Jung believed life is a constant creative process, and when you allow yourself to participate in that process without attaching to a specific outcome, you discover a freedom that transforms everything you do. Every day is a new opportunity to practice this act of letting go. You can start with something small, an expectation toward a friend, a fixed idea about how your day should be, or even a criticism toward yourself. Notice how you feel when you let go of that burden, even for a moment. Notice how your energy shifts, how your ability to enjoy the present expands. This is the start of something much bigger, a path toward a more authentic, fuller life aligned with who you really are. Life, as Jung said, isn't a problem to solve, but a mystery to live. By letting go of expectations, you open yourself to that mystery and let the magic of the unexpected enter your life. You discover you don't need everything to be perfect to be happy, because true happiness doesn't come from controlling the external, but from finding peace within. And now I ask you, what are you willing to let go of today? When you do this work, when you choose to free yourself from what you don't need, you discover something incredible. Life isn't a place where you survive, but a space where you flourish. And that, as Jung said, is the true purpose of our existence. When you choose to let go of expectations and embrace life as it is, you not only free yourself from the invisible chains tying you to suffering, you also create space for the unexpected, the magical, and the authentic to enter your life. Carl Jung taught us that the true purpose isn't to seek outside ourselves, but to reconnect with our essence, that unique spark we carry within. By doing so, we not only transform our reality, but also inspire others to do the same. This path isn't easy, but you're not alone either. By letting go of expectations, you align with something much bigger than yourself, a natural flow that connects all things. It's a journey toward authenticity, toward a peace that doesn't depend on the external, but on your ability to accept and trust the process of life. And now I want to make you an invitation. If this message resonated with you, if you feel there's something in your life you're ready to let go of, share it with us in the comments. Tell us what expectations you're willing to leave behind, what lesson you're taking from this video, or how you plan to apply these ideas in your life. Remember, your words don't just have the power to transform your experience. They can also inspire others going through the same thing. Plus, if you think this message could help someone else, share it. Let this reflection reach more people who, like you, are searching for a way to reconnect with themselves. Together, we can create a community where knowledge and authenticity are the driving force behind real, positive change. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss our next videos. Every interaction you have, whether a comment, a like, or a simple share, helps this content reach more people. We're building a space where we can grow, learn, and support each other, and you're an essential part of it. Remember, change starts with you. Today, you have the chance to take a step toward a fuller, more authentic, and more peaceful life. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being part of this journey. I'll see you in the comments and in our next video. The world needs more people like you, willing to transform their reality and inspire others in the process.